Hey guys, welcome to our podcast where it has to be said. My name is Elvis, and today we have a special guest, my oldest sister, Kami. And yeah, she does look the youngest out of all of them. So it's a privilege. I'm excited. One of the goals of this podcast was to be able to bring people within our circle, people, relatives, friends, that have a story to tell. I think everybody has a story to tell, and one way or another, it speaks to us. Um, so, Kami, tell us a little bit of your journey.
Well, my journey has been a long one, definitely a long one. I'm still in my journey. Currently, I'm still under treatment. So, to start off the whole scenario and how everything started, I actually had like a lot of headaches. And I wasn't feeling good that weekend. So I told my friend, and my friend was like, "Oh, maybe we should go to the hospital." So I waited out, me as being, independent working woman. I was like, nah, I could handle it, until Friday.
Hmm.
And once Friday hit, then I told my friend, I'm like, nah, I'm not feeling good. I got, my vision on my left side. I couldn't see. I would see stars, and it was like random. So I went to the hospital on Friday, and they did an MRI. First, they thought it was COVID. Thank the Lord it wasn't COVID. But it was actually a brain tumor that they found. And it's actually a very advanced brain tumor that actually is grade 4, and it's called gliostoma. And it's a incurable brain cancer. So what they can do is just basically do the surgery, which they did. I got my surgery in
How
February.
long? How long was the surgery? How long ago?
Uh, well, that was in February
Of last year?
of last year. I'm gonna be a year now in February.
A year.
2023 is gonna be a year. Yeah, and I went in at 7:30 in the morning, and I went to the surgery room. After I got the news that I got brain cancer, it was like
Did they tell you immediately?
they
Like,
did
what?
tell
What
me.
was the process of
They
that?
they did tell me immediately because of the type of brain tumor it was.
Okay,
So since it was gliostoma,
which is a stage 4.
it's automatic stage 4 is the most aggressive one, and
Okay.
there's no like cure. There's just treatments.
What what was your thought process when they told you that, right? What was the first thing that came to your mind, right? Because you had just moved to
Yeah.
Boston, right? You're coming from New York, you
Yep.
moved to Boston, so everything is completely
Yep.
new. I think you only had your best friend out there, right?
Yes. Yes.
And the first thing that happens is you have this crazy news that
Yeah.
you're gonna fight cancer,
Yeah.
right? And what was your thought process in that first moment when they told you you have cancer?
I couldn't believe it. To be honest, I was like, no, but I didn't take it as serious
Hmm.
because everything happened so fast
Hmm.
that by the time I finally everything got to sink in, I already did the surgery. I'm already in rehab. So it was very hard, especially that, I lost my mother 8 years ago, and she had brain cancer, and she had two surgeries. I thank God that I only had one,
Hmm.
and I didn't have to go through what mommy went.
Yeah.
So it was
I remember what it was. She had two operations, but for her was a little bit more complicated because I remember, like if it was yesterday, they called her, and half of her body wasn't moving.
yeah.
So that I mean that's completely different and,
Yeah.
and a little bit shocking. So I think you were a little bit in denial when they told
Yeah.
you because you wasn't as intense as mommy
Yeah.
was, right? Because you were still moving
Yeah.
perfectly fine. It
Yeah.
was just for a headache, right? That
Yeah.
you went.
It was just a headache, and I had a seizure in the middle of sleeping that I woke up and I just started throwing up. And that was
Wow.
actually a seizure that I had in the middle of the night. So yeah, I just had that and my vision. But the brain tumor, it depends which location is the brain tumor at.
Mm-hmm.
And mom's brain tumor was literally right here in the center. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the motor area,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
In my side, it was more my vision, my left side, and sometimes memory, like temporary memory loss, like my brain will get foggy and I will forget. Like I could have a conversation with you right now and all of a sudden I forget what I was, talking about or saying. So those were my symptoms. Like my vision, my concentration, and just that. So it definitely affected me because I thought about my mom and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna pass the same thing that mommy went. I'm gonna suffer. I'm gonna die. But I don't know, for some strange, God, I saw things differently. And also I had my brothers and sisters there to support me. And that says a lot and that helps you a lot to move forward. Because if I didn't have my brothers and sisters, I think it will be very hard for me, especially that I moved, like my brother mentioned, I moved from New York to Massachusetts in December. I left everything. I started working remotely. I had a new job. I was good. I was trying to save up money to get my house in the future, obviously, for I could have something for my grandson.
So there was a lot of moving pieces in that whole time in your life, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm gonna give you my point of view, right? Because when they told me, "Hey, listen, your sister," because I remember Maylene calling me, our other sister,
Yeah.
and she told me, "Hey, listen, they found out that she has cancer. They're gonna operate her."
Mm-hmm.
And I had just bought this house, and I
Wow.
was in the process of renovating the house, and I only had 2 weeks and a half to renovate the house
Yeah.
to be able to move in. So I was like, I was also going through a lot of stuff at the time, and I'm like, wait.
Yeah.
But she has cancer, and the first thing that came to my mind was mommy.
Of course.
Was the same thing. I didn't necessarily think, oh, she's gonna die, but
Mm-hmm.
I said, man, we already passed it hard with mommy.
Mm-hmm.
Now she has this too.
Yeah.
I mean, I got scared.
Yeah.
I just want to be honest. I got scared, and I don't think I necessarily. I think I reacted the same way you reacted, right? I think I was more in denial,
Yeah.
and I said, it can't be Kami.
Mm-hmm.
Not Kami, God.
Mm-hmm.
I said anybody else but my sister.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I said, you know what? I'm not going to do anything. And I
Mm-hmm.
spoke to Denise, my wife. I'm like,
Mhm.
babe, what do I do? We're in this scenario. Should I go over there, right? Because it was, 4 hours away?
4 hours, yeah.
And I was
4
like, do I
hours.
go see her? And I remember her telling me, listen, if something happens, you're going to regret it if you don't go see her,
Yeah.
right? Because we also have to be realistic of the situation. So I went and I saw you, and I remember Maylene, all of us wanted to go see you. Bobby was here.
Yeah.
He wanted to go see you. Everybody
Yeah.
was nervous.
Yeah.
And the first thing that everybody would think about is mommy.
Mhm. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was
That's
crazy, but I was like,
crazy.
no. I wasn't accepting that. I was like,
Yeah.
no. Like,
Yeah.
it could be anybody else,
Yeah.
but not Kami. No, like, no. I
Yeah.
wasn't going to accept that. That's why I even want to have this conversation with you, right?
Yeah.
Because, right, first thing that people want to think about is, oh, somebody got cancer, automatically, they're going to pass away.
Yeah, they're gonna be
something.
dead.
But if you believe in God, man, like,
Yeah.
if you believe that God could do something in the midst of the storm, I mean,
Yeah.
that just changes everything,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And I believe that. I said, listen, God is not done yet with her.
Yeah.
Right? There's promises, there's things that God has to do with you
Yeah.
that I haven't seen myself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, no.
Yeah.
Right? I'm over here having an
Yeah.
argument. No, it's true because we don't even have these conversations.
Yeah, no,
right?
we don't.
And that was us over here as siblings, how we're seeing it.
Yeah.
And we just want to be there for you.
Yeah. No, but that was like a big factor of giving me hope, strength, and just looking forward to live life. Even if the doctors are saying you only have 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, or whatever. But you guys were like really the force that gave me like that moment when I was feeling down and when I was feeling depressed, because it is a process. You do feel down. You do feel, stress, and you try to not to feel like that. You want to be positive and hopeful, but they were there for me like from day one. And that gave me a lot of hope and strength to just keep on fighting, because I'm telling you, I would look at myself once that my hair started falling out and I took radiation, my hair started falling out. And I'm like, oh my, like I wouldn't want to look at myself in the mirror because I felt ugly. Like I felt really ugly. And it's crazy though, because I say that and people will look at me in the street and they will be like, I'll tell them a little bit of what I'm going through. And they're like, oh my God, you don't look like you're going through that. You look so positive. You look so good. You have some strength in you. Like you if you wouldn't have said anything, I wouldn't have known you were going through this. So that my family was like a major point for me to like overcome this, especially God también, you know, but my family definitely is very important. You know, it's always good to have your family there, even when you're struggling and you don't want no help from nobody, because there was a point in my life that I'm like, I've always been dependent. I've always worked. I've never asked for help. So this was something new for me that I needed the help. Not because you know, Kami, forget about you. Don't be selfish. There's people there that love you and want to help you and want you to get better. So that was another lesson that I had to like learn and be like, okay, Kami, sit me down. You gotta let them help you. They're just trying to help you. They just want the best for you, you know? So you get to a point, you know, when you're going through what you're going through that you're like, no, I don't want no help. And I got to a point that I'm like, no, if God put them in my life, it's for something. If God put them there, it's because they're gonna be my support system. They're gonna be the ones that are gonna push me to move on forward. I mean, you know, it's the family que Dios me dio, you know, it's the family that God gave me, you know, so.
And that perspective where you would not even wanted to see you, how did you react to you not wanting to even look at yourself, and then you see other people that did see value in how strong you are as a
Yeah.
woman, how strong you are as a person that's battling cancer,
Yeah.
and you're just enjoying life
Yeah.
because you're grateful to still be here alive. How did you react to that, right? Does somebody say, oh, you look like a strong woman, you're beautiful, it looks like you're good, you have all the strength? How did you react to
I'm
that?
like, they're crazy. What are they talking about? What are they talking about? I got a pañuelo here. My hair is falling out. I'm puking all the time with these chemo pills and all this. And they're saying I look strong. Yo estoy débil. Like, but you know what? That was God. You know, sometimes there's things that we don't see in ourselves, but other people sees. But that's because God is projecting that from you, what's inside you, you know, and even though you don't see it, you know what? At the end of the day, God is gonna do all the promises that He has, because Dios no es un Dios de mentira. He's not a God of lies. So when people told me that, yeah, at first I was like, they're crazy. What are they talking about? I look all busted and all that. But after that, then I started seeing how God was working with me inside, and how to love myself regardless of my hair falling out, feeling sick. I couldn't eat, nothing. Like, I was starting to see myself in a different version that I guess God wanted me to see, how He saw me, you know? So I think that really, it played a lot of factor, you know, to just be positive and not negative, because I was negative. There was a time when I was in rehab and I was so like, I was by myself over there in Massachusetts again. My brothers and sisters live over here in New York. My daughter's over here in New York. My grandson is here in New York. You know, I didn't have nobody over there. And
You had your friend.
I only have my best friend, and that's it. My best friend, and that's it. And everybody has a life, you know? So I know I'm not going to always see her there, because I know she has her, which is understandable. But that's when you get that lonely, like not lonely, but you get that place where you're alone and you start reflecting and thinking. And that's when everything like kind of hit, when I was in rehab, because I was like I really got really depressed, and I was just crying. Every single day I would cry. Every single day I would cry, and I would say, God, why? Why? Because you get to a point that you always say, God, why? Even though you're like, oh no, I know the word of God, and I know, you know, that He has promised, but you're human.
Yep.
So you're human, and you just get like, oh God, why this happened to me? Oh, I think about my mom. I think about, oh, what if this doesn't work? What if the treatment is not gonna work? What if I only have a few, you know, but it's a process. So you go through different emotions.
Yeah.
And I got into emotion that I was like, okay, you know what, God? You have it in your hands. Everybody sees me beautiful. Okay, I'm beautiful. I'm gorgeous. That's it. So, yeah.
Sometimes we don't even realize how strong we are. Sometimes we don't
yeah.
even realize how others could project us, or even how God looks at us.
Yep.
Right? We live in a society where everything is filters and how do I look in the exterior. But we don't
Exactly.
truly look at how we are inside.
How
Right?
God sees us.
That's the most important part.
Yeah. Yeah, how
How
God
we are,
sees
how
us.
we are inside, and how God even looks at us. Right?
Yep.
as his kids as
Yeah.
well, right?
Yeah.
Because I would see my sister, I'm like, man, that's my sister. I care you had a baño. I'm like, she's beautiful, she's strong, she's overcoming it. And one of the things that you mentioned was that you didn't want any help,
Yeah.
right? And I know that for a fact, but I
Yeah.
would just not listen to you.
Yeah.
I
No,
will
I
help
know.
you regardless. How did you overcome that? How did you accept? Listen, at this point in life, I
Mhm.
can't do it all alone.
Mhm.
I need somebody to be there for me, and
Mhm.
I need to allow them to help me, right?
Yeah.
Because you needed to allow
Yeah.
the people that were around you to be able to help you
Yeah.
because you weren't going to be able to do it alone. How did you do that shift?
That was a very hard transition
Hmm.
because like I said, I mentioned before, I was very independent. I worked, I bust, like I did what I had to do. And being so weak, it's like, wow, I'm weak and I need help, And my best friend was there. And I remember my best friend was like, Kami, I'm here for you. Ask, you don't feel like you're like un estorbo,
Hmm.
So she's like, just ask. And I think little by little, as what I was going through, I started seeing my siblings coming. I started seeing my best friend. So that kind of like helped me
Hmm.
like to understand, Kami, you have a sickness, you need treatment. These are the people around you, and you need to shake it up and just do what you got to do, and that's it, to fight for life, and that's it, you know.
What what God represented in your life throughout the course of all of that and throughout the course of now, right? Because you just finished taking a session of chemo
Yeah.
recently, right? It's
Yeah.
not like you finished with all of
No,
this,
i'm
right?
still i'm still in
Because
treatment.
one
Yeah.
of the things that I want to talk to you about was because most people talk when they finish, right? Most people talk when they have the victory
Yeah.
and they're healed
Yeah.
and they're celebrating, right? But you're talking from a place where you're
Mhm.
still going through the
Oh
process,
yeah.
right? I remember the other day I was calling you like, listen, I didn't want to talk to anybody because I was puking, I was tired, I was dismotivated, right? You were
Yeah.
going through it, right?
Yeah.
So in this whole process, even now
Mhm.
speaking, right?
Mhm.
Who was God in your life in this whole process? And what does he represent?
God is everything. Like, there's no words, there's no way for me to describe it because it's something so personal and so is you and God. So I could sit here and explain it to you, but honestly, like, God is good, and God is, like I said again, God is not un Dios de mentira. He has promises. He had promises with mommy también.
Mm-hmm.
Mommy didn't get to see it,
Mm-hmm.
but you're gonna see it.
Amen.
The girls are gonna see it. Mikay is gonna see it. Everybody's gonna see it because that's the legacy mommy left. And I don't know. I think again, you guys' support and the family and my best friend, and then how God was moving in a different way, because I got the chemo pills and the radiation and all that, and it could have been worse. Like, I got treatments that could have lasted longer, and it didn't. I see how the la mano de Dios,
Mm-hmm. The
the
hand
hand
of
of
God.
God, moves simple things. That's why sometimes the simplest thing,
Mm-hmm.
God works. Even when my hair falling out, God has something there to tell you, like, oh yeah, you're falling out, but you know what? The one that's gonna grow is gonna be greater. You know why? Because God is gonna
Mm.
glorify you in your life and everything you do, and that's it. So at the end of the day, with everything that I went through, I've always saw God's how you say that, God's trato. Like, I've
His
always saw
treatment with you.
I saw his treatment and the little things. Right now, I just finished, like my brother said, I finished my cycle. My last cycle was now in January. It had to be delayed because, actually December 31st it was my last cycle. And I was telling my sister-in-law, which is crazy because I'm like, wow, you know, Dios siempre trabaja. Like, God always works in the most simplest thing. And I already said that, but it always has a meaning. And December 31st was when our mom passed away. December 31st is when I start my last chemo.
Mm.
December 31st, which I was talking to a brother from church, and he said, you know what? That's the number 8. The number 8. That's it. That means eso es nuevo comienzo.
Amen.
So I said, you know what?
A new beginning.
A new beginning. And one thing that I saw what mommy went through compared to what I went through, that's when más todavía vi la mano de Dios.
Amen.
Ahí es cuando más todavía, with the little detalle, I will see God's hand. Like, don't worry, I got you. I got you. And I just kept on believing, and my faith just kept on growing even more and more and more. Like, nah, my mom did not serve a God that is gonna, no, that's not how it is. My mom taught me that no, Dios es soberano. Dios es grande. You know, God is, sorry for my Spanish, but yeah.
It's okay. You keep on going.
Because
no,
so
you talk. This is why we're here. We're here to talk.
Yeah.
So whatever you're saying, it had to be said regardless. So you say it. So no, keep on going. Yeah. Listen, out of everything you're saying, you're mentioning a lot the family, right?
Mm-hmm.
How we were support, how we wasn't, and how mom marked us and our generation. I want to ask you, Barry, because a lot of times we even question ourselves. What would be something good or bad to do? Meaning, how could we approach you when you were going through this whole process, right? Because we don't want to harass you too much. Or she's not answering. Everybody call her. Everybody text you.
Yeah.
Right? How could we show support without being overwhelming to you, right? Because we know that you're passing through it. So how could we be of support without like going
like
to
overbearing or anything like
Correct.
that? No, I mean, it's hard. Like it's hard to explain it. I mean, the way you guys were with me was not overbearing. But there was a point in the treatment that I was getting that I did feel, because you have your days. You got your days where you feel low, and you got your days that you feel high, and then you got your days that you feel low. So there were days, that I will feel a little bit, overwhelmed, with people texting me, hey, how you doing? Or calling me, or blah, 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 are you okay? And this and that. So I will take it day by day, but there will be days that I wouldn't even answer because, it's like, I don't want to talk about it right now, so.
So we should still try to talk to you. Whether you answer or not, just take it one day. No, I want to know because a lot of times, right, we see people going through it and we don't know how to approach them, how to talk to them and make sure that we're giving the message that, listen, you're going through it, Kami, but you're not alone. I'm here with you, whatever you need, even if it's prayer. Sometimes people just need prayer. There's enough. It's sufficient trusting that God is going to move and God is going to do something. That's it. That should be it.
Yep. No, you're right. You're absolutely, right. So
anybody that's probably going through this process or probably going through a challenging health condition in their life now, what would be your words of give them? Not even encouragement. What words you have? It could be whatever words you want to give to them.
To be honest with you, going back to that question that you asked me about, how can you approach somebody that's going through, a disease or cancer or whatever, there's really no perfect, answer for that. You just got to be there. Unfortunately, you don't know what type of mood they are, if they're, down or if they're depressed, but you never know. That God bless you, I'm praying for you, or hey, I got you in my mind, eventually it will get to you.
That's good.
And eventually you'll be like, you know what? I do have people that care about me. I do have people that are interested to know how I am or whatever.
That's good because sometimes us giving the message or reaching out, sometimes we feel a little bit offended because the other person on the other side is not answering.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes even though we're not going through it, I'm like, I'm calling Kami and she's not answering. She's ignoring me. Yeah. But we don't understand because we're not in the midst of the fire. We're not in the midst of the situation you're in. So that's why I want to know. I want to make sure that
there's no way to approach somebody there's no perfect or the perfect sentence. Like, it's like if you go to a funeral, what can you say to somebody?
That's a perfect example. Yeah.
You can't. What are you gonna say? So, but you're there for them and you're giving them that support and that love. Is the same way like me. As long as you text me, even if I didn't answer, like, it still spoke to me. Like, wow.
You still got the message.
I still got the message.
You still got the message even though we didn't get the response. and you still, I think out of everything you mentioned,
Hmm.
just being there was enough.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
we don't realize how important
Oh,
it
yeah.
is for us to be either with our friend, our relatives,
Yep.
whenever they're going through it,
Yep.
us just to be there.
Yep.
Sometimes we don't even got to say words.
Yep.
Sometimes we just got to be present. And I think that
Exactly.
should be sufficient. Obviously, we want to pray and believe and declare that there's going to be healing. But at
Amen.
the end of the day, we only know, I mean, we don't know. The only one that really knows is
Is
God,
God. That's
right?
right. I say it like this, only God knows my expiration date. That's it. He only knows my expiration date. And, God is my force of going forward. God is my force of living life. I only have one life and that's it. Why not give it to God? Especially that we had mom as a perfect
Yep.
example. Mommy was perfect example, and it's just God. God is my driven, having faith. He has a word for me. He doesn't lie, is gonna succeed, and that's it. So I put my trust in him, I put my faith in him, and that's what gives me strength. When people ask me, oh, you look strong, you look strong, you're brave. No, God is brave in me.
Amen.
God is the one that's giving me that force. God is the one that is directing me to where he wants. And it's crazy though, because with all this process, you know, you're going through it, physically,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, there's also process spiritually.
Amen.
Because before, I don't know if I was telling you the other day, I was like, before I would read a verse and I would read that verse so many times and it wouldn't like really like, minister to me or I wouldn't understand it really
Yeah.
good. But then when I started going through this whole process, you start looking for God even more because you want to understand,
Mm-hmm.
but only God knows. But they got into a point that I will read the Bible and I will like, wait a minute, what is this? So it's not only physical that you're passing through
Mm-hmm.
certain changes in the process, also spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
And God has really, really like revealed a lot to me when I read the word.
So
So
you would say that you got closer to God
yes.
with this whole process. You got closer probably to even your family,
Oh
or
yes.
even the fact that now you even enjoy life
Oh
more because you
yes.
see the value in it a lot more. I
Yep.
would think, right?
Oh yes. I mean, it's like I told the other day, I think it was to my daughter, I'm like, life is too short. Why be petty?
Yep.
Why be upset?
Mm-hmm.
Life is short. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not
I'm
perfect.
not perfect.
Nobody's perfect. Only God. But if God gave me this family over here in this earth, and God knows there's going to be bickering, but I'm not going to be holding on to that grudge and that pettiness. Like, life is too short. I see life different. That definitely for sure. I don't see life how I used to. And I'm not quick to act up.
Mm-hmm.
Now I see things a different way. And especially, with my siblings and my sister in law, like I see certain things different. And sometimes, like the other day, like I'll talk to my daughter about something that she had, and I'll be like, let it go. Life is too short. Why
Mm-hmm.
you just let it go and that's it. Let it be and that's it. God will do the rest and that's it. So I definitely see life very different. I'm enjoying life. I've been going to PR. I've been seeing my dad, my stepmom, my grandfather, my grandmother. I went to Miami the other day. So now I got time. I mean, in a way, it's kind of good because God knows that I love to travel. So I got to actually travel even more this year going through my treatment because I even went to PR in my cycle, my treatment that I felt so sick. But I was like, you know what, God, I'm leaving it in you. Give me fuerza, strength, and that's it. So yeah, I mean, yeah.
And we beating cancer.
And we beating cancer. We already beat cancer.
It's already done,
There's
right?
nothing there. There's nothing there. That's it. So I'm growing new, feathers. So I know it's God.
That's good. That's good.
God, that's God all the way.
It doesn't matter what you're going through in life. God could do something. Doesn't matter the season you're going through in life. God is under control. Thank you
Amen.
guys. Take care.
It had to be said.